War doesn't just destroy cities, it leaves behind evidence. Hidden inside abandoned buildings, there are places where the truth was recorded in the darkest ways possible. Not rumors nor stories, but proof. Rooms where prisoners were held and walls that witnessed violence. Documents, photographs, and remnants that showed exactly what happened, even when the world tried to look away. Some of these places were meant to be erased, others were simply left behind as if no one ever planned to return. But when they were finally discovered, they revealed crimes too brutal to ignore. Tonight, we're stepping into 9 abandoned buildings where war crimes weren't just committed, they were documented. And once those records were found, there was no way to hide the truth anymore. Number 1. Tuol Sleng, S21, Cambodia. It started as a school, a place where children once sat in classrooms and learned. But during the Khmer Rouge regime, those same rooms were turned into something unrecognizable. Tuol Sleng, known as S21, became one of the most brutal prisons in modern history. More than 17,000 men, women, and even children were brought here.
What makes Tuol Sleng different is how much information it provides. You begin to understand it wasn't all chaos. It was organized, methodical, systematic. And this was a school before it became a prison, and seeing that contrast makes it even harder to process.
So these are metal beds used for torture. And you can see this picture here. This man has been sitting on a desk, writing his confession.
They were photographed, interrogated, tortured, and almost none of them ever left alive. Every prisoner was documented. Their faces were captured in haunting photographs, names recorded, and confessions forced out through unimaginable pain. This wasn't just violence, it was systematic, recorded, and proven. When Vietnamese forces entered Phnom Penh in 1979, they found the prison exactly as it had been left. Iron beds still chained to the floor, shackles hanging from rusted frames, photographs of victims still pinned to the walls. And inside some of the cells, there were bodies. 14 of them left where they had died. Tuol Sleng wasn't just a place of death. It was a place where every crime was documented, as if the perpetrators wanted a record of everything they had done. Number 2, Unit 731, Complex, Harbin, China. Some of the darkest crimes of war weren't hidden. They were studied, recorded, and perfected. During World War II, the Unit 731 complex operated as a biological warfare facility under the Imperial Japanese Army. But inside its walls, it became something far more horrifying. Prisoners, including men, women, even children, were used as test subjects in experiments designed to push the limits of human survival. Vivisections performed without anesthesia. Bodies were exposed to freezing temperatures to study frostbite. Diseases like plague and cholera are deliberately injected just to observe how they spread. These weren't isolated acts of cruelty. They were documented. Every reaction, every result, and every death. Number 3, Fort Douaumont, Verdun, France. Some war crimes aren't written in documents, they're sealed in stone. Deep inside Fort Douaumont, one of the most powerful fortresses of World War I, there is a chamber that was never opened again. In 1916, during the brutal Battle of Verdun, the fort was occupied by German forces when a catastrophic explosion tore through its interior. A firestorm erupted where flames spread through tunnels and corridors, ammunition ignited, and panic turned into chaos. Hundreds of soldiers were trapped inside, and there was no escape. By the time the fire burned out, 679 men were dead. Their bodies were gathered and placed into a section of the fort. Its walls were sealed around them. Therefore, there was no recovery, no burial outside, just silence behind stone. To this day, that section remains closed untouched. The fort still stands, visited by thousands, but deep inside. Behind those sealed walls are the remains of soldiers who never made it out. Their final moments locked away forever. Number 4, 9th Fort, Kaunas, Lithuania. On the edge of Kaunas, the 9th Fort looks silent, but between 1941 and 1944, it became a mass execution site. Over 30,000 people were brought here, marched to pits and killed in waves. Bodies were buried in layers, one group after another. Inside, prisoners waited in cells outside. The ground became graves. What makes it worse, everything was recorded. Names, transports, executions, not chaos, but a system. When the truth began to surface, prisoners were forced to burn the bodies to hide the evidence. Some escaped and their testimonies exposed it all. Today, the fort still stands, its tunnels intact, its mass graves still being uncovered. Because this wasn't just a killing site, it was a place where death was organized and documented. Number 5, Westerbork Transit Camp, Netherlands. In the quiet countryside of the Netherlands, the Westerbork Transit Camp doesn't look like a place of death, but it was the beginning of one. Between 1942 and 1944, over 107,000 people passed through here, not to stay, but to be sent away.
A Nazi holding area for the Jews before sending them off for persecution. There's not much left of it, but we're still going to go and have a look and see what it's all about. Catch you in a bit. If you see these railway sleepers with information on, so that one says 23rd February 1943, Auschwitz, 1,101 personnel obviously got transferred there. You can see the post all the way down and then all the way up. What a shame. I don't know for certain, but I'm going to edge my bets that this was the railway line with all these sleeper posts in, the details on, that depicts the railway line that took the Jews away from the holding camp, away to the likes of Auschwitz, like a lot of them say, where they didn't come out alive. It's a shame, absolute shame. I don't know if the camera's actually picking up with the low-lying mist. It's quite eerie, cold. A bit like the feeling you get and the atmosphere at Belsen, for those that have ever been to Belsen. I've visited it on several occasions. It's a lovely morning, but actually feels cold here, which seems a bit weird, to say the least. And there's another one, Auschwitz, 12th of October 1942, 1,711 persons.
Trains left regularly and cattle cars filled with families. Destinations were Auschwitz, Sobibor, and most never returned. What remains today is chillingly simple. The rail tracks the path they walked and the buildings where they waited. No chaos and no resistance, just a system of transport moving people from life to death. The camp still stands, quiet and untouched, because this wasn't where it ended, it's where it began. Number 6, Hashima Island, Battleship Island, Japan. Off the coast of Nagasaki, Hashima Island looks like a concrete ghost ship frozen in the sea, but it was once called Hell on Earth. Built by Mitsubishi, the island became a coal mining hub with tunnels stretching deep beneath the ocean. During World War II, forced Chinese and Korean laborers were brought here made to work in extreme heat, darkness, and danger. Many never made it out. Above ground, a dense city formed with apartments, a school, even a hospital, all packed into a tiny island. Then in 1974, everything stopped. The mine closed and the island was abandoned almost overnight. Rooms were left as they were, furniture, belongings, entire lives frozen in place. Today the buildings crumble into the sea, but the silence remains. Because this wasn't just an abandoned island, it was a place built on labor, suffering, and sudden disappearance. If you made it this far, you've only scratched the surface. There are still more places even darker than these. So stay with me till the end, and tell me in the comments which one disturbed you the most.